Hi everyone, we're back again with another video on Chicago Booth Review. This time we're covering the cover story of Chicago Booth Review Spring 2025 edition, which talks about the work from home versus the return to office debate. This cover story is written by Rebecca Stropoli, and I'm joined today with Dr. Athar Mansoor, and we'll dissect what's this heated debate between work from home or return to office. Thank you, Dr. Athar Mansoor, for joining us. So we've seen that the COVID-19 pandemic had changed how companies used to work. A lot of people who used to go to the office switched to Zoom. And even now, Zoom, we see, is sort of asking its employees to go back to the office. So Dr. Athar, can you in this start sort of tell us about different brands or different big companies, what are they thinking about this debate, whether they're going back to the office or they prefer working from home?
Right. Haider, I think it's a very interesting article because it's the opening of the article clearly tells us that companies like Amazon, which have actually been seen as the trendsetters in, connecting people and operations virtually, have recently asked, as in January 2025, very recently, have asked its employees to join back for a 5-day working week. So Amazon, which actually has been seen as a disruptor and which had actually challenged or which had actually completely redesigned the way work was being done, and its cloud computing division was actually helping companies big and small of all sizes to perform their operations virtually. And you see on Amazon you can buy anything from anywhere on the planet. So this kind of model, and then asking people to come back and report, I think it's a big decision, and it has actually had its own criticism from the employees. It has attracted a very violent kind of a criticism. So employees have posted on LinkedIn challenging what Amazon is doing, and it can reduce or bring down the productivity, it can harm the employee morale and things like that. So you asked about big names. I think Amazon, along with many other companies, have been following very recently. They have started following the policy of return to office fully. And other names in this are Boeing, Goldman Sachs, UPS. It's a very big name in courier and postal industry, and also X by Elon Musk. So Tesla is also doing it, but Tesla's policy is not ironclad for completely asking employees to come back. And so I think these are very big names which have actually asked their employees to come back. And you named Zoom also. So Zoom is also another big name. It actually, in 2023, about 2 years ago, it asked its employees who were residing within 50 miles radius of the company to report back to the physical working environment at least twice a week. So I think these are the major companies which are trying to go back to that fully return to office kind of environment. And in the US government, recently Trump has asked employees to come back, although again he has left, the article tells us that he has left a loophole in that if the department heads or the heads of the agencies deem necessary, they can allow hybrid or work from home kind of arrangements.
Yeah, no, for sure. We see how DOGE, the new sort of institute or the department set by the US government, they're sort of hunting down on work from home, and they've instructed the American government employees to be back in the office, along with all the other companies that you pointed out that were discussed in the article. One thing that this article also actually sort of bifurcates in a way is differentiating based on different industries. So there are certain industries that focus more on work from home, and there are other industries that focus more on returning to the office. And this article sort of talks that how hospitality is something which would be most from the office, and whereas financial sector work could be done from work from home. So to have a blanket, in my opinion, sort of a blanket ban or a blanket policy for all industries is perhaps not effective. It's more so on the case by case basis or the industry by industry basis, and perhaps that could be the reason why there's a what you call this loophole as to if the government or the employer thinks it could be work from home or return to the office. This article also delves deep into sort of giving research about productivity. So the essential question is, where are you more productive? The employer wants their employee not to see the face, but actually where they're more productive at. So what's the research here as to where is one more productive, sitting at home or at the office?
I think the research is actually tells clearly, and the research has been done by expert researchers at top universities like Stanford and Chicago and Chicago Booth, and also at the Mexico Autonomous Institute of Technology. And they tell us that it's basically a hybrid kind of environment which is working more in terms of enhancing or keeping up with the productivity of the employees. So it's not about just asking them to work from home completely or just join the office completely. That would because it's a we are living in post-pandemic world, and the pandemic started about 6 years ago. It ended about 2.5 years ago. And since then, people have been arguing that this new kind of arrangement where they have been allowed these flexible arrangements, they have been as per their own interests, as per their own times where they are more productive, they are able to contribute towards the productivity of the organization or institution for which they are working. But I think in some countries it also varies from culture to culture, that the research also tells. So for cultures, as per Hofstede, who was a psychologist, as per Hofstede's dimension, if the culture is individualistic more like the West, for example the US, and it's based on individual passions and goals, then work from home kind of arrangements are better in terms of productivity. But if these are collective cultures like China or maybe Korea, then office environment can bring in more results. Similarly, for example, in India, which is a collective kind of a culture, it's not an individualistic culture. The research tells us that at home, when people are at home, they get distracted more. And they get distracted because they are unable to balance the time between attending to their work responsibilities and managing distractions like messages or attending Zoom meetings or maybe home assignments or any responsibilities they have towards their family. So productivity can go down. So the research in fact uncovers that it is important that yes, to a certain extent, we're coming back to office from the perspective of innovation is important, because when people interact face to face, they sit with each other, and sometimes spontaneous conversations, they bring out innovative and inventive ideas. So in face-to-face environment, we have to sit together and that spontaneity and sometimes talking to each other and picking each other's ideas, and during the conversation picking up on points from each other, it can in fact enhance and improve innovation. They call it water cooler effect in the article. So this is kind of the research, and if people can manage distractions well, and they can attend to their anything which actually it takes them towards losing focus, if they can manage it, then work from home arrangements are good. But in the overall scenario, I think the research tells us that hybrid arrangements are going to stay, and they are going to be better.
Yeah, no, that's true. Looking at the research, and I'm also working on a hybrid basis. I go to the office twice a week and stay at home 3 days a week. And I do think that having a hybrid approach does work, anecdotally speaking, that it works the best. Something else that this research also talks about is the company culture. And especially in the corporate world, in the Western side of the world, we see that company culture is a big thing. And perhaps it alludes to the fact that how working from home sort of erodes that in-person company culture and the water cooler effect that you alluded to earlier. So these are certain drawbacks, while someone can be very productive on their own sitting at home, but having a company culture, being under one roof together in one meeting hall really does contribute to the success of the companies. And it makes sense why, Goldman Sachs and Amazon, or even Zoom for that matter, are asking people to come back. Before I go on, before I ask you the final question about work from home, I want to ask you as well, as you're a researcher, anecdotally speaking, what do you think works good for you, working from home, or do you think that it's the hybrid culture that works better for you?
Even I think in the world of research, and I've spent a lot of time in research and universities, I think hybrid mode is something which brings more productivity. So as a researcher, sometimes, we are in a mood to sit and not get, commute and not get dressed and ready for the office. And we want to sit and start at our own time. So if we have the flexibility to stay at home for that particular day, I think overall productivity goes up, because we are in that frame of mind where we do not want to earn extra time. And as a researcher, it's very important because it's sometimes, it's more of a output from the brain, which you need to process, churn out, right? And that output has to be, if you can't do focus work in especially research, you can't churn out, or, the output cannot be that good. So it's in the world of research, I think surely it's hybrid arrangement, which is more suitable for helping researchers bring out quality research. And one thing, Haider, I think we need to discuss also is the distinction between men and women, which has been discussed.
Yes, absolutely.
So the article tells us, just as you asked me about my anecdotal evidence, I think I have also seen that in case of females, hybrid arrangements work better because they have to take care of their household responsibilities also, usually, right? So for example, child rearing and other tasks. And if they are given that hybrid kind of arrangement and they are allowed hybrid work, they can do it. Although, we need to balance it out, that how much time they need to spend at office and how much time they can spend in their homes.
Yeah.
So, but for females, I think it's also something which needs to be talked about.
Yes. You mentioned commute, and I just want to add something more on that. I think I feel that in the corporate world, it's all about hours that you put into the work. Productivity is all about how many hours do you really work a day. And most corporate leaders around the world are busy people. And they work in financial centers like New York, London, Toronto, Hong Kong, and these are busy places. These are if you are commuting to the office at 9 and coming back at 5, it's making sure that you're spending at least 3 hours on the road, unless you live just next to the office, which most people don't. So it's just spending 3 hours on the road in such big financial sectors, just commuting to and back from the office is really a loss of productivity. You don't really do that. You don't really do a lot during the commute, and you go and tired to the office. So if unless it's absolutely necessary for you to be in the office, I think hybrid model does sort of work.
Yes. And I think, Haider, one more point is that there is evidence also in the article which talks about the hybrid advantage. So they have done many, because of the paucity of time in the video, I'll just share one example, which was at the Chinese tech company, which the article talks about. And they say that at the Chinese tech company, a 3-day hybrid schedule actually helped cut down on quit rates. So the attrition rates of that company went down by 1/3 when they shifted to 3-day hybrid schedule. So this was something which helped the retention of employees, and the company in fact had the advantage it reaped the advantage of giving the employees that flexibility, and the employees were retained. So I think overall there is enough evidence. There is enough evidence for the ability.
This refutes our previous point about company culture as well, that company culture at the end of the day is to make sure that your employees are happy and retained in the company. But if employees are retained the other way as well, what's the point of having an in-person company culture where, we're living in a digital world and company culture can be nurtured through digital means as well.
Yes. But I think, Haider, one more thing which is important, that sometimes, face-to-face interactions, they really give that advantage of intermingling and interacting in a powerful and more forceful manner. So that's why, again, we are not advocating here as, you and I, we are not advocating RTO or work from home. But again, as the article argues, we are advocating the hybrid model, right?
More of a balancing between both the poles.
Balancing. So it depends on, the geography of the company where it's located, culture, many other things, and then gender also, and then things which you have talked about. But I think hybrid is there to stay, and it will be the norm for the future. And that's
so if I were to simplify this, the question that we sort of raised in the start of the video, work from home or return to the office, can I say, Dr. Athar, that there is no simple one answer whether work from home or return to the office, but the article sort of suggests it's more of a balancing act, going for a hybrid approach, sifting through cultures, barriers, other sort of factors, and seeing what's best for the company.
Exactly.
Can we say that?
Exactly. I think you have summarized it very well, and this is what future would look like, at least for the next decade or so.
This brings me to the final question then, and that's the sort of question that this article raises as well. Is work from home / hybrid to stay, or what does the future 10, 15, 20 year of work culture look like?
I think we have now those tools which can manage, or which can balance work life. We have remote tools also, right? And those remote tools can balance our work and life. And if we can use them very skillfully and adroitly, I think calling everyone back full-time is not wise. That's my also, I think, my take on it, my overall opinion. And I think that companies like Amazon must rethink their strategy, and they must rethink what they are doing, review what they are doing, because as I've told you, there are many employees who are disgruntled, demotivated, and they have even very openly on social media platforms like LinkedIn written that they would like to quit.
Let me interrupt you here quickly and add one thing. Amazon is forgetting that we're raising a new generation which is completely digital, and I was just talking to someone the other day that there's people coming to the companies who've never been in the office, have never seen the sort of full office 9 to 5 week, and they've just either from people who graduated during COVID. Ever since then, they never really saw the full office sort of thing. And with AI coming in, it seems a little tricky to have a complete going back to the same 9 to 5 days a week.
Absolutely. Yes, agreed.
Right. With that, I think we can wrap up this video, but I definitely ask the audience to tell us in the comments what they think is more productive, working from home or return to office, or what do they think will the future look like. Thank you, Dr. Athar, and thank you everyone for watching this video. Join Tracks.